What if everything you believed about fat was wrong? Not slightly off, not a minor misunderstanding, but fundamentally, completely wrong in a way that has been quietly working against you for years. Most people spend their lives treating fat like an enemy, something to punish, something to fight, something that refuses to cooperate no matter how hard they try. But what if fat was never the enemy? What if the real problem was that nobody ever told you how to speak its language? Right now, beneath your skin, wrapped around your organs, tucked between your muscles, and buried deep inside your body, there are tens of billions of microscopic living structures quietly doing their jobs. They don't make noise. They don't send you a text message. They don't show up on any screen you own. But they are awake. They are listening. And they are responding to every single decision you make, every single day, whether you realize it or not. These structures are your fat cells. And once you understand what they actually are, how they actually work, and what actually happens inside them the moment you start moving, you will never look at your body the same way again. Here is what almost nobody tells you. The moment you stand up and take your first step on a 30-minute walk, something extraordinary begins happening inside those cells. Not after weeks of discipline, not after months of suffering through a diet, but within minutes, measured in real biological time, your body begins a cascade of events so precise and so intelligent that scientists are still uncovering new layers of it today. This is not a motivational speech dressed up in science. This is the actual, step-by-step story of what happens inside your fat cells when you walk, explained in a way that will make you feel, for the first time, like your body finally makes sense. Let's start at the very beginning, because most people skip this part, and skipping it is exactly why they never truly understand why walking works. Your body contains somewhere between 30 and 40 billion fat cells. Read that number again, 30 to 40 billion. That is not a small system. That is not a passive storage closet tucked in the corner of your biology. That is an enormous, living, communicating network that spans your entire body and plays an active role in nearly every metabolic process you have. Here is the part that changes everything. Fat cells are not just storage tanks. They are endocrine organs, which is a scientific way of saying they produce hormones and actively send signals to other parts of your body, including your brain, your liver, your heart, and your immune system. They are not sitting there passively waiting to be shrunk. They are constantly talking, constantly receiving information, constantly adjusting their behavior based on what is happening around them. Think of each fat cell not as a blob of useless flab, but as an intelligent warehouse. It has locks on the doors. It has internal alarm systems. It has communication lines running in every direction. It has a full logistics team managing what comes in and what goes out. And right now, if you have been mostly sedentary, those warehouse doors are locked tight. Not because your body hates you, not because your metabolism is broken, but because your body has not received a convincing enough signal that it is safe and necessary to start shipping things out. That signal is movement, and the clearest, most biologically consistent signal you can send is something so simple it almost feels too easy. Walking. Inside every fat cell, energy is stored in a form called triglycerides. These are tightly packed molecules, basically fatty acids bundled together in a format that cannot simply leak out on their own. To release that stored energy, your body must go through a very specific biological process called lipolysis. That word just means the breaking apart of fat molecules. But the process itself is anything but simple. Lipolysis requires the right hormonal conditions. It requires specific enzymes to be activated. It requires internal signals to align in just the right way. And when those conditions are not met, your fat cells hold on with remarkable stubbornness. This is why people who try to eat less but never move often find themselves frustrated. Cutting calories reduces what goes in, but it does not automatically trigger the hormonal cascade that tells fat cells to start releasing what is already stored. Movement does something fundamentally different. Movement does not just reduce input, it changes the entire internal environment of your body in a way that unlocks those fat cell doors from the inside. And here is where the story gets interesting. Because the science of how this unfolds, minute by minute, during a 30-minute walk, is genuinely one of the most fascinating things you will ever learn about your own body. When you take your first steps, your body does not immediately switch to burning fat. That is an important thing to understand, because many people get discouraged early on, thinking nothing is happening. During those first few minutes, your muscles reach for the fastest and most readily available fuel they can find. That is glucose, the sugar circulating in your bloodstream and stored in your muscles as glycogen. Your muscles are practical. They grab what is closest first. It is the same logic as using the groceries already in your kitchen before driving to the store. But while your muscles are burning through that glucose, something else is happening in the background that most people never see and never appreciate. Your heart rate climbs. Blood flow accelerates. Your nervous system shifts into a heightened state of alertness, and your adrenal glands begin releasing two powerful hormones into your bloodstream: adrenaline and noradrenaline. These hormones do not stay in one place. They travel through your entire circulatory system, and when they reach your fat cells, they bind to specific receptor sites on the surface of those cells. Think of this like a key finding its exact lock. When that key turns, it activates an enzyme deep inside the fat cell called hormone-sensitive lipase. This enzyme is the gatekeeper. It is the molecular crowbar that begins prying apart the tightly bound triglycerides sitting in storage. But here is the thing about starting a cold engine. It takes a moment. The signal has been received, the process has been initiated, but the actual release of fatty acids is still minimal during these first few minutes. At the same time, something equally important is happening with your insulin. Your muscles are rapidly pulling glucose out of your bloodstream, which causes your insulin levels to start dipping slightly. That drop in insulin is another signal your fat cells are paying very close attention to. Insulin, when elevated, acts like a storage command. It tells your fat cells to hold everything they have and keep the doors shut. But when insulin drops, that command is lifted, and your fat cells hear the message clearly: it is becoming safe to let go. You are still only a few minutes into your walk at this point. You have not broken a dramatic sweat. You are not gasping for breath. From the outside, nothing spectacular appears to be happening. But inside your body, the first dominoes have already fallen. The signal is live. The enzymes are waking up. The locks are beginning to turn. Now you pass the 5 to 10 minute mark, and everything shifts into a higher gear. Lipolysis accelerates. Hormone-sensitive lipase is now fully activated and working at speed. Triglycerides inside your fat cells are being broken apart into their two component pieces: free fatty acids and glycerol. These smaller molecules can now do something the original triglycerides could not. They can leave the fat cell entirely. They pass through the cell membrane and enter your bloodstream, beginning their journey toward the muscles that need them. This is the moment the warehouse doors genuinely swing open. This is when the stored energy you have been carrying starts to move. But liberation from the cell is only half the equation. Those fatty acids need to actually get somewhere useful, and they need to get there quickly. This is where one of walking's most underappreciated benefits comes in. Walking significantly increases blood flow to your adipose tissue, which is the technical name for your body's fat deposits. This increase in blood flow essentially widens the delivery routes, allowing fatty acids to travel faster and more efficiently through your circulatory system. Your muscles, which started the journey running on glucose, are now receiving a steady stream of incoming fatty acids and beginning to shift their fuel preference. As those fatty acids arrive at muscle cells, special proteins transport them across the cell membrane and shuttle them toward the mitochondria, those microscopic power stations that exist inside almost every cell in your body. Inside the mitochondria, the fatty acids go through a process called beta-oxidation, where they are systematically broken apart and converted into ATP, which is the universal energy currency your cells use to power everything, from muscle contractions to cellular repair. Your body has now entered what scientists call a mixed fuel state. You are burning both glucose and fat simultaneously, but the balance is shifting. Fat oxidation is rising. Glucose dependence is falling. Your body is learning in real time that it has access to an enormous, reliable energy source and that there is no reason to panic or hoard. This is also the precise moment in a walk where most people quit. They feel fine. They feel like they have done enough. They check the time, decide 10 minutes is a solid effort, and head home. And in doing so, they step off the train one stop before the destination. Because what happens next, if you keep going, is where the real transformation lives. When you push past 15 minutes of continuous walking, you cross into a physiological territory that researchers often refer to simply as the sweet spot. During moderate intensity walking sustained beyond this point, fat oxidation can account for anywhere from 50 to 60% of the total energy your body is consuming. That is not a rounding error. That is your body running predominantly on stored fat as fuel. Your fat cells are releasing fatty acids at a steady, efficient, controlled rate. Your muscles are absorbing and burning them beautifully. The entire system has found its rhythm. But the most remarkable part is not what is happening in the moment. The most remarkable part is what walking at this stage is doing to your biology long-term. Every time you reach this point, you are training your fat cells, not in a metaphorical sense. In a literal, measurable, biological sense, you are increasing the density and efficiency of the enzymes involved in fat breakdown. You are upregulating the proteins that transport fatty acids across cell membranes. You are influencing the actual gene expression happening inside your fat cells, gradually making them more metabolically flexible, more willing to release energy on demand, more capable of participating in this cycle of storage and release the way they were always designed to. The entire system improves with repetition. It is adaptation through consistency. Your biology learns what you expect of it, and it rises to meet that expectation. And then there is irisin. During this sustained walking phase, your muscles release a molecule called irisin, sometimes called the exercise hormone. Irisin travels through your bloodstream like a biochemical messenger, and when it reaches your fat tissue, it delivers a signal that sounds almost like science fiction. It tells your white fat cells to start behaving more like brown fat cells. Here is why that matters. White fat cells are your primary storage cells. Their job is to take in energy and hold it. Brown fat cells do something very different. They contain far more mitochondria, and they are specialized to burn energy and produce heat. They are metabolically active in a way that white fat cells typically are not. The transformation of white fat toward brown fat behavior, a process researchers call browning or beige fat formation, means that walking does not just burn fat while you are in motion. It changes the fundamental character of your fat tissue. Fat that was primarily designed to store becomes fat that is willing to burn. And this shift does not disappear when you sit down after your walk. It persists. It accumulates. And over weeks and months of consistent walking, it meaningfully changes how your body manages energy even at rest. By the time your watch reads 30 minutes, your body has entered a state of full metabolic flow. Glycerol is circulating in your bloodstream. Insulin is at a healthy low. Fat is being mobilized and burned at a rate your body only reaches through sustained, consistent movement. You have not just burned a few extra calories. You have sent your biology a message it will remember, and that message continues to echo long after your walk ends. Here is what most people never learn about exercise. The benefits do not stop when you stop moving. For hours after a 30-minute walk, your body continues burning fat at an elevated rate. Your muscles, which depleted their glycogen stores during the walk, begin the process of replenishing them. To power that replenishment, your body continues pulling from fat stores. Your mitochondria, activated and primed from the walk, remain in a heightened state of activity. Your fat cells continue releasing fatty acids to meet this ongoing demand. Research shows that lipolysis, the very process of breaking down fat for fuel, can remain elevated for up to 24 hours following a single, moderate exercise session. Think about that for a moment. One 30-minute walk can influence your fat metabolism for an entire day. Not because of magic, not because of some exotic supplement, but because your biology is so efficient, so responsive, so intelligently designed that a single bout of meaningful movement sends ripples through your system that last far beyond the effort itself. And when you repeat this process day after day, week after week, something even more profound begins to unfold. Your fat cells begin a process of long-term structural adaptation. They become smaller, not because they disappear or are destroyed, but because they are releasing their contents more readily, more frequently, and more completely than before. Chronic low-grade inflammation, which is something overfilled fat cells generate and which quietly damages your organs, blood vessels, and metabolic signaling over time, begins to decrease. Insulin sensitivity improves, meaning your cells become better at responding to insulin signals, which makes energy management smoother and reduces the hormonal conditions that encourage fat storage in the first place. Adiponectin, a hormone produced by healthy fat cells that improves how your body processes glucose and fatty acids, increases. Leptin sensitivity, which governs your hunger and satiety signals, stabilizes. Your body begins to expect movement as a normal, regular feature of daily life. And when your body expects something, it prepares for it. It allocates resources differently. It becomes more efficient at every stage of the fat-burning process. Here is the beautiful paradox at the heart of all of this. The more consistently you walk, the less your body feels the need to hold on to fat. It sounds counterintuitive, but it makes complete sense when you understand the biology. Your fat cells store aggressively when they sense scarcity and stagnation, when energy might be needed at any moment, but movement is rare. When consistent movement becomes a regular signal, the threat of scarcity disappears. The body stops hoarding. It learns to flow. Smaller, healthier, more metabolically active fat cells are not just better for weight management. They are better for your cardiovascular health, your immune function, your hormonal balance, and your brain. They communicate more effectively with your organs. They produce better hormones in better proportions. They work with your body instead of silently working against it. Study after study has confirmed what the biology already suggests. Regular walking improves lipid profiles, reduces visceral fat, the dangerous fat that accumulates around your internal organs, and lowers the inflammatory markers that serve as early warning signs for heart disease, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. And this holds true even without dramatic dietary changes or punishing exercise routines. For decades, the fitness world told people that only intense, prolonged, sweat-drenched workouts could produce meaningful physiological change. Anything less was barely worth the effort. The science no longer supports that story. What the data consistently shows is that consistency matters far more than intensity. That moderate, sustainable, repeated effort produces deep, lasting biological adaptation. That walking, done daily, done consistently, done long enough to cross the thresholds we have explored today, is one of the most powerful metabolic tools available to any human being. Perhaps the most important thing to take from everything shared here is not a specific number or a scientific term. It is a shift in how you see your own body. Your body has not been failing you. Your fat cells have not been betraying you. They have been doing exactly what billions of years of evolution designed them to do: protect you, preserve energy during uncertain times, wait for a signal that tells them it is safe to release what they have been holding. That signal is walking. It is the clearest, most reliable, most consistent message you can send. It tells your biology that energy will be needed regularly, that resources can flow instead of being locked away. That movement is a normal part of life, not an emergency to survive. You do not need perfection to send that signal. You do not need to run until your lungs burn or lift until your muscles scream. You do not need to track every calorie or follow a plan so rigid it breaks you within 2 weeks. You just need to walk consistently, long enough to cross the threshold, day after day, giving your body the one language it has understood since the beginning. Movement means life, and life does not need to hoard. Because right now, beneath your skin, inside tens of billions of living, breathing, listening cells, your body is waiting for exactly that message. And the moment you send it, everything begins to change.